Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Scaff. He is Dr. Michael Werman, Esquire. On today's show, we'll recap the AFC and NFC Championship games and talk about our ongoing betting competition. And then we'll end up providing a maybe more in-depth preview of the Pro Bowl than the NFL has provided for the NFL Pro Bowl. Through their press releases of the last week or two.
Maybe more than anybody wants a deeper preview. I guess our discerning viewers or listeners will certainly want as much Pro Bowl games information as they can consume.
Yes, all they want. But we'll kick off today's show. Discussion about the AFC and NFC Championship games. Mike, I think both games, Kansas City versus Baltimore and 49ers against the Lions, more or less each game came down to almost a single play that really, where the momentum really shifted. Mike, I just want to sort of quiz you on this to see if you came up with the same plays, if you're just thinking off the top of your head. What was the most influential play of the game, just to start extremely granular, and then we'll maybe expand.
Okay.
Right. Which play do you think was most critical from each of the two championship games from this last weekend?
I would say the Snead punch out of the ball that Zay Flowers was when he was going into the end zone, diving for the goal line, when Snead knocked the ball away just about a foot away from the goal line, and
that was at the Chiefs were ahead 17-7. Flowers about to score would have made it 17-14 at the very beginning, right prior
to basically the first play of the fourth quarter, maybe second play of the fourth quarter, right at the beginning there, and that was after the big Zay Flowers catch and run, and then the taunting penalty, which was pretty seemed like a pretty standard call. There wasn't like a lot of it seemed like he kind of taunted in multiple ways that the NFL frowns upon. He pushed Snead down when he was on the ground. He stood over him,
which is I think was all that is necessary for calling.
Yeah. And he kind of spun the ball right in his not maybe right behind his head.
Yeah.
And so it was clearly a celebration was not aimed. It was definitely aimed at Snead, and it wasn't, on its own. So which is what the NFL doesn't really usually care for. If you're a star player, sometimes you can get away with a little more than that. But I think Flowers.
We have to remember too that they did call Tyreek Hill for a penalty for giving the peace sign as he ran by someone.
Yeah, but sometimes they would do that, but usually they wouldn't do that with Hill. So maybe he has a little bit more. He does it quite a bit. It's become his thing, so maybe they don't care.
Maybe, and it's not. I mean, it's not like that showy. I guess anyway, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, peace isn't mean. That's
the
kindest thing to give to someone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I think that was. So was that the play that you were thinking was the turning point as well?
So I would have said the fumble, but I also would have taken the the penalty on Flowers with the immediate kicking off Snead's return to Flowers for having taunted him by knocking the ball out afterwards. That is what I was looking for anyway. Yes.
Okay.
I thought you would find that one. The second game though, what do you think was the critical play?
There were a couple. I would say one of them, this isn't the one I'm going to pick, but one of them was the Gibbs fumble. But I think the main one, the one I would pick, is the Brandon Ayuk reception that bounced off of the Detroit defensive back that should have been intercepted, but ended up being a near touchdown for Ayuk, and
intercepted, or at least just fallen incomplete.
Fallen incomplete, yeah. It'd be like a 50-yard pass play.
Ayuk got zero part of that ball on the way through.
Yeah,
which made it so much more incredible, right?
Yeah, that was an amazing catch. That's the one I would probably pick as something that helped spark the 49ers rally.
Because at that point in the game, the 49ers were down 24-10. The interception would have been nearly a killer at that point, and ended up being setting up the touchdown. Then I think Gibbs fumbled on the very next possession, which then turned into another touchdown right away. So I don't know that play could have been any bigger to give San Francisco the momentum anyway. So that was great. I mean, the second half for the 49ers was great. The first half for the Lions was great.
Yeah.
But basically the entire game that the Chiefs played was at least above average.
Yeah, the first half was really good for the Chiefs. I think they left some points on the board. Kelsey, it looked like he made that first down. This was after the strip sack by Omenihu, who unfortunately won't be in the Super Bowl because he tore his ACL, it turns out.
Just a few plays later, even too. That was
and it was
really
just
too bad.
Yeah, just kind of he wasn't even touched by anybody. It was just a fluke
non-contact injury.
And that seems to be when they happen the most, or as much as contact injuries. But the non-contact ones always seem to be serious if you just kind of fall down for apparently no reasons because, well, your Achilles is ruptured or your ACL is torn or something like that.
Yeah.
But when after the sack and fumble recovery by the Chiefs, they didn't score any points off of that turnover because they were stopped on fourth down. But Kelsey on third down, it looked like he actually got the first down, but it was a poor spot. But the Chiefs decided to not challenge and decided just to go for it anyway from about a little less than a yard away, and Pacheco got stuffed. But they should have challenged that, I think, and that would have perhaps, or if they didn't get it, maybe they should just kick a field goal to go up another 3 points, just to, because they ended up with nothing on that drive, and they actually got no points off of Baltimore's 3 turnovers. Or Baltimore 3 turnovers, but the Chiefs didn't get any points off of them. So it was they did two. I guess 2 of the turnovers were in the end zone, so it would have been a full drive down the field. They were touchbacks, so it would have been 80 yards to get points. But
the turnover on downs was, I think if they would have challenged it, would at least given them a little more time to consider what their next option would have been. And so, if you want to take a timeout there anyway, it wouldn't have hurt. But if you want to take the timeout, burn the challenge, which turns into the timeout, that still would have given them at least some extra time to make a decision as to what play they're going to run, or just kick the field goal. I think that would have been a wise choice. I think they thought maybe they could catch him off guard by not knowing if they're going to challenge, just rush up to the line, run the fourth down play, but that did not work at all. Yeah,
and they were
not caught off guard, and they stuffed the run.
Yeah, and the Chiefs, they left points on the board there. They also left, I think, when they got the field goal at the end of the half, those holding penalties were both, I think, a little bit iffy on Trey Smith. I think the second one was the one that nullified the Rice touchdown was the worst. Was the worst call of the 2, I think.
Yeah.
So that was a really good play by Rice, bursting through and scoring that 30-something yard touchdown or whatever it was, where he outran. Rice hasn't really outrun people for a long distance, except that play that we've seen, I think, because he got caught in that, was it Cincinnati, in that one long play he got after about 50 yards down the field. He was caught by the Bengals defenders, but so that was a big play that was taken on board. I guess also the Chiefs could have scored at the end of the game too, but they decided to do the gentlemanly Andy Reid kneel down, which sealed the victory, which they didn't have to do anything. But if it was John Harbaugh, maybe they would have gone for it or something like that. It seems like he likes to score extra points at the.
They did already cover the spread.
They covered the spread. Yeah,
they couldn't hit the over, so there was no like betting improprieties. To keep away from or across.
Yeah, and you didn't. I guess you wouldn't want to risk anything there, but that the play to MVS though was quite risky. I thought the long pass, he caught it, but it was something that almost gave the if it hadn't worked, it would have given the ball back. But they were 3rd and 9, so they needed something for that first down, and maybe just stopping the clock wasn't going to be the end of the world at that point. So I think that was a pretty bold play by the Chiefs to do that, and
especially throwing it to a player who had been one of the most questionable players, like
mhm.
from the regular season, having been involved in how many different drops
Yeah,
that
very
were put in
memorably
the
against the Eagles that he had that long pass play that would have won the game, but he dropped it right as he was going to cross the goal line. It looked a little bit like that. It was a nice lob by Mahomes, but this one he kind of turned around and caught it as he was falling backwards. So
adjusted it like into his lap basically, so he
yeah,
was able to secure it.
yeah, that was a great play. So playoff Marquez Valdez-Scantling has been very good. He was excellent in the AFC Championship game last year. He
Mhm.
had some couple big catches against Buffalo. Now he's got this big catch against the Ravens to seal the victory. So he's been maybe he hasn't quite been worth the money in the regular season, but he's I think been worth it in the post
Kind
season.
of taking a page out of the maybe Frank Clark's
Frank
game
Clark,
management playbook.
yeah, Frank Clark, Sammy Watkins had some big playoff um, heroics as well.
Tony and Sky Moore maybe gonna have big
Yeah,
Super Bowl implications now this year too, you think? Or
I don't know. Sky Moore, I think, is going to be out. I wonder. Tony is iffy, because there was that supposed rant that he had about the Chiefs when because he was out for quote personal reasons. Turned out to be because he was his girlfriend was giving birth to their child on Saturday or something like that. And that was part of it. But he also had an injury. He was upset. And I don't even know if that was real. It was hard to tell if that was really Tony. Did you hear about that? Like
I heard about it. I didn't see the video though. That's
there
all.
wasn't a video, it was just audio. So
Oh, okay.
and it wasn't necessarily clear when that audio was
Yeah.
recorded or released because it wasn't on like his regular social media, it was on something else. So like some people were thinking maybe it was like the Ravens fan or somebody who just wanted to mess with the Chiefs put that
Right.
out or something. I don't know if that's the case or not, but there have been like conspiratorial um, things about it. So it was, but he's back at practice. Andy Reid said, and he's I think probably going to be ready for the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs need as many playmakers as they can get. So I think having Tony, even if he's been iffy at best this year, I think he's a dynamic player when he has the ball.
Absolutely.
And he had that punt return against Philadelphia that and one of the touchdowns on the corn dog plays that helped win the game. So he did great there. Sky Moore, maybe he'll be back too. Maybe Jerick McKinnon might be back. Maybe I don't know if his injury. What was his injury? Do you?
The last I heard was that during the week before the Ravens game, he was spotted on crutches still. So
Okay.
um, they at that time it sounded like analysts were thinking that he was not going to be available for the postseason at all. Is what,
Mhm.
but you never know though too until
Yeah.
a week before the game. You might have an idea if it's different, but
Yeah. The Chiefs are pretty thin at running back behind Pacheco because Edwards-Helaire is okay, but he doesn't do the things that Pacheco does. And I guess
yeah.
Michael P. Ryan, is he the third running back right now? He hasn't even barely seen
He was in on special teams plays, I think, in the
action.
last game.
Yeah.
I spotted him on the field a couple times. I hadn't really noticed him on the field like much at all, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah. So were you impressed? What most impressed you about the Chiefs' victory? Was it the defensive performance? Was it Travis Kelce's heroics? Was it just Mahomes's unflappability? What were the what most impressed Dr. Scaff in the Chiefs Ravens game?
I think everything you mentioned is, works. You could easily make a case for any of those. But I think I was probably most impressed by the defense as a whole. Finally forcing the turnovers is really what, you know, was the thing that's been missing across the whole season was, the Chiefs were turning the ball over themselves and not able to force turnovers. Negative plus minus over the course of the season. Yeah. Up 3-0 in this game. And that makes a big difference.
Yeah, it was an impressive performance. They had, even though I think it turned out by the second half there were some yards given up, but points were few and far between for the Ravens. And in the first half, especially, Jackson's numbers looked terrible. He had like three, other than that big touchdown to Zay Flowers, that was kind of a remarkable play on Jackson's part.
Yeah.
Um,
But just to stay in the play, because he
yeah,
probably could have been. I mean, he looked like he was sacked once, and maybe could have been sacked a second time.
was that
Still
Chenal
getting-
who didn't get him, or was it
I'm not sure who.
Frankel? I can't remember. But they, with Willie Gay out, the linebackers all played really well. So hopefully Gay is back for the Super Bowl. Hopefully Mike Edwards, who had the concussion, but was replaced by Deion Bush, who quickly had that interception in the end zone. Hopefully they'll be back. And the Chiefs also dropped an interception or two that Jackson could have thrown. Bolton had one. There were a couple, there's maybe one other that was.
There was one that got knocked away that I think Snead was waiting for, and it got
and then
knocked down on the way to, like, Snead was like waiting for it, and then somebody else like kind of knocked it down.
And there's the one that Jackson threw to himself that was popped up in the air and could have been intercepted by one or two different Chiefs players, but Jackson was quickest to it. But fortunately, if you watch that play, Tranquil ended up getting the tackle, but Jackson could have maybe gotten a touchdown on that play because there wasn't really anybody in that part of the field defense. So that was a big play. So yeah, Tranquil has been really good. So unfortunately, many he's going to be out, but maybe some of the other defensive players. I guess Noddy's probably going to be out again, but maybe some of the other guys can step in.
There were a couple plays I thought were amusing though too. There was one play where Drew Tranquil did tackle Zay Flowers, which I thought was like the most peaceful sounding two names, collision. Flowers versus Tranquil. That was fantastic anyway. But the that is one of my favorite plays is the quarterback catching his own pass though. That is, a really cool thing that is rare, and it's impressive though, because it
seems like though that it's had, I guess it reminded me of the Marcus Mariota touchdown that he scored catching his own pass against the Chiefs in that playoff game 2017, after the 2017 season, the year that Mahomes' rookie year, where he only played the one game, but he didn't play that playoff game, and the Chiefs had a big lead and they ended up losing. So I was thinking, hopefully that wasn't going to be a repeat. So I was
that, yes,
yeah.
But it has to be, that's more rare than the safeties though, probably. Even is that, could you have bet that? And if you did, yeah, how much do you think you would have won on that? I mean, it has to be a huge positive, receiving yards for a quarterback over like 0.5.
There is a bet on a Super Bowl on FanDuel that is, will a quarterback catch his own pass?
Yeah,
I think it's like 4,000 plus 4,000 or something like
that. That's one of the things that we should have had a bet on. It probably isn't.
Mahomes, I think, has caught his own pass once before, but it's not. Yeah, it's pretty rare. Usually it's because somebody bats it down or hits somebody in the helmet or something, and it
right
ricochets back. But I don't. Yeah, it was one of it was one of the big highlight. It could have been one of the great plays of Jackson's career had it gone a little farther, had Tranquil not been able to tackle him when he did. But yeah, it was an impressive victory by the Chiefs. I was not confident about their win going in. I thought maybe they could. I thought if they could, it would have been a higher scoring game. I didn't think the defenses were going to be as stout on either side as they ended up being. The Chiefs really seemed to have the Ravens figured out in the first half, but then the second half, I don't know what happened, whether the Chiefs didn't make adjustments or just kind of wanted to hold on to the lead and play conservatively. Maybe a little bit of each.
Yeah, the offense wasn't quite as effective in the second half. So like seemed like maybe Baltimore's defense had made some adjustments because the first half the Chiefs like dominated time possession. That really, set the tone for that half, was that the Chiefs had the ball for almost as many minutes in the first half of this game as they had in the entirety of the previous game against Buffalo.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that really, set the tone for the half, but they weren't able to dominate the ball as much in the second half and were playing a little more on their heels, but the defense came up big and after they gave up lots of yards. So it ended up not mattering that they gave up the yardage.
Yeah, they didn't give up the yardage to Jackson on the ground, really. He only had about 50 rushing yards. So I think they were playing the run and say, well, you can pass against us. We'll basically let you throw the deep ball every once in a while, but we're going to play the run, not give you easy passes either. Or we'll give you like 3-yard passes. But there weren't like a lot of like 10-yard completions, 15-yard completions. They were either guys out of the backfield or the occasional bomb to Flowers that worked out every once in a while. But most of the long passes were overthrown or were off target by Jackson. So the Chiefs had a plan, and it seemed to work really well.
And there weren't many like 4th and 1s or 3rd and 1s. They were mostly like 3rd and 7s, and so they weren't really even giving it a chance to go for a 4th and 1s in Baltimore, giving those scenarios where they can go have that extra down attempt to make, rather than punt, because if they're far enough away from the first down mark, they aren't going to go for it, I guess. So they don't want to make the mistake. So this deep into the game, should we go through our bets maybe for the
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was just going to say this was supposedly one of the great, maybe the Ravens were seen as one of the great teams of all time by some of the advanced stats kind of metrics, and they were, this like and also the way they beat they had, I think, beaten 11 teams with winning records, and then most of those were by double digits, and so like they had really stormed through the regular season. But they didn't really
hottest at the end of the season too.
They didn't really play a lot of really top level quarterbacks during their stretch. They didn't play against Josh Allen. They didn't play against Mahomes during the regular season. They roughed up some good teams that were good, but maybe not. They didn't have the elite quarterback play that a couple of the few of the AFC teams. And I think when they played Cincinnati, Burrow was either injured or playing, or injured or not playing. So it was, maybe they hadn't quite experienced that level of competition. Baltimore was a very, very good team, very challenging team that, this is probably their year to do it. I'm sure. I think the salary cap, it was a little bit like Buffalo. This was maybe their last year to do it. Looks like everything's gonna balloon now in terms of salary and having to get rid of players, and maybe this helps the Chiefs in the long run too. That some of their great competition is going to have to, get rid of some of their top assets because they can't afford to keep them all next year.
And now it's really on the GM to be able to make these new salaries work with the budgets they have.
The salary cap, which is not that high for what most teams probably would want to pay, and it's because it's dictated basically by the cheapest owners who want competitiveness without having to spend a lot of money. And
but I think it's really hard to plan for those ballooning contracts, especially at the quarterback position, when they have decided to take someone on long term. They balloon much faster than what the salary cap increase. So that's you're not getting any relief that way on the books side of the business here.
Yeah, that's one reason also why the 49ers maybe are doing so well, is because they picked the cheapest person possible that they could have drafted in terms of their quarterback ascending scale salary. Fortunately, they don't have to pay Brock. They paid Brock Purdy peanuts basically because he was drafted last overall, so he was barely making above the minimum probably.
And they may be paying dead contracts on quarterbacks that aren't on the roster more than they're paying actually paying Brock Purdy this
Yeah,
season.
I'm sure they're paying Sam Darnold just to sit on the bench more than they're paying Brock Purdy as
Heck,
well.
even a veteran contract is far pricier than a seventh round pick
Yeah,
2 years ago.
yeah.
So yeah,
They're paying Trey Lance a lot more too because he was, he was on the rookie scale. He was number 3 overall, so he was,
yeah.
he started out as multi-million-dollar salary. But let's get to our bets that we made in the Chiefs Ravens game. So we both picked the Chiefs to win. That also means that we picked the Chiefs to cover the spread. The Chiefs were 3.5-point underdogs. So we each got those correct since we picked the Chiefs to win. The Chiefs money line was plus 168, so we each won $268 on that. We also picked the spread correctly, so we got basically almost doubled our money there, and that helped us because I think we both thought the points were going to be easier to come by in this game. Over under was 44.5. It only scored 27, so it didn't even come close to the over.
There was the one touchdown that was taken off the board.
Mm-hmm.
The field goal that they didn't take, or they could have gotten that third down.
Yeah, and then I guess the Snead knock away of the touchdown.
So like that's 17 points that maybe could have happened, and
it's still only 44.
It'd still be under. So that even if all 3 of those things happened, it still wouldn't have been enough points to get to.
You would have needed the Lamar Jackson maybe not to throw the interception and
right.
But yeah, it was under all the way. At least once the second half started. We were 24 points scored in the first half. It was 17-7, so that was on pace to be over. But the Chiefs didn't move. We thought, okay, the Chiefs now, when they get the ball first in the second half, they're going to move the ball. They're going to score. That didn't happen. Nobody scored really. There's only 3 points total scored in the second half. So
just that late Baltimore field goal and only scoring.
Yeah,
second half. Not much.
So we missed that one, but we got the others right. So
and we needed those very desperately because the rest of the picks were harder to come by, I think, for points because the points were so low. Some of the prop bets were unders then also.
Yeah, there were a couple of narrow misses too for one or both of us. So Lamar Jackson was over under 210.5 passing yards. He finished with 272, so that was over. I think we each thought that he was going to be under, so we missed
more running, less throwing, and the Chiefs got ahead early, so it ended up being more throwing and
less running. We also thought Mahomes was going to be over 243.5 because he was over 340, I think, every time he had played Baltimore before, but he narrowly that Lamar that Rashee Rice touchdown gone through, he would have been over. Had one pass here or there been caught, or just another couple of yards, he was at 241. The over under was 243.5, so he was under by 2.5 yards.
He needed 3 more yards, and that could have been made up just by spots alone, right? So
he was 1% under about he had 99% of what he needed to get.
We both had the over on that.
So we both missed that. You did better on the rushing props. You got all 3 of the rushing prop bets. I only got one. of the prop bets on the Chiefs Ravens game, but Lamar Jackson rushing yards 64.5 was the over under. He only got 54, partly because they were trying to play catch up. Maybe they were trying a little bit harder than they needed to play catch up, because if the Chiefs didn't score any points, they probably could have just kept running the ball and maybe done better, because the Chiefs' run defense is not as good as the Chiefs' pass defense. But Jackson only got 54, so he was 10.5 under. So we both got that one right. Mm-hmm. The Pacheco one could have gone either way. It was so close. 66.5 was the over under. Pacheco got 68 yards rushing on something like 20 something carries. It was a lot. The Chiefs were focused on running the ball, running the clock down, and So he was 1.5 over. I picked the under, you picked the over correctly. So you got that one correct. And you also got the Mahomes rushing total correct. 26.5 is the over under. I picked the over. You picked the under. He only got 15 yards. There were a few kneel downs sprinkled in there at the end of the game, but he wasn't gonna. He was never. I don't think he was ever. He was never over. He
Not
didn't
really threatening the over, but
yeah.
I think there may have been one long run that he had that was called back for a penalty though, wasn't there?
Might have been. I can't remember now, but yeah, there were it seemed like most of the time when he was scrambling, he stayed behind the line of scrimmage and made throws to Kelsey or somebody that were um instead of running. He got he got hit quite a few times, but he fortunately didn't seem to be worse for wear. At one time when he got wrapped up, he kind of bent backwards, his
Oh,
legs.
yeah.
It looked like that was maybe going to be an injury, but he uh actually never was down on that tackle. I guess fortunately the Baltimore guy let him go rather than snap his ankles, it looked like. But
Right.
he was tackled right after that, but it was pretty impressive. But yeah, so Mahomes was under 26.5, so that is it was a rainy game, so that also may probably affected some of the stats, maybe some of the Chiefs' plans to, especially the second half was a little bit rainy, I think.
Yeah. You didn't really notice it on the broadcast, just sort of like when they went to one camera angle, you could sort of see it
Yeah,
accumulating on the camera lens, but otherwise you didn't really notice that it was raining.
yeah, it was a cold and wet, not coldish and wet day.
But
There,
considerably warmer than the previous two games the Chiefs.
yes, but not nearly as balmy as the Las Vegas Super Bowl will be indoors at the Raiders Stadium, where the Chiefs have had tremendous success before, and where there's supposedly a Chiefs flag buried under the stadium. You remember that?
I've heard the story, yeah.
And so the Chiefs will play. They'll play in Las Vegas against the 49ers. They'll play a playoff game at Allegiant Stadium before the Raiders will play a playoff game there. That's
So cruel, Mike. That's
a little sad. It's almost as bad as when the Chiefs won more games at the Cardinals home stadium, because they won the Super Bowl there and they won at Arizona. They won 2 games. The Cardinals only won 1 game at home all season last year. So the Chiefs were so maybe they can have another kind of
bragging rights type
right,
play.
yeah, sort of infamous achievement in those in the Southwest.
Hilarious.
But we mentioned their opponent, San Francisco. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Detroit San Francisco game? We did already a little bit. Any other things? One thing I think maybe is controversial was some of the fourth down gambits by head coach of the Lions, Dan Campbell, who decided on a couple of 4th and 2s, 4th and 3s, where field goals were available. He decided to go for it and was unsuccessful twice in the second half. And the 49ers, of course, won by 3 points. Had he kicked field goals or even gotten one of those field goals to go in, it would have been a tie game. Do you think that going for it was the right move, even though they didn't get it? Is hindsight just 2020? Did they make the right? I think analytics maybe said they were doing the right thing, but I'm not sure how much analytics can take. They don't, like, there's no accounting for momentum, psychology,
Right.
some of the intangible aspects that I think playing a game with human players involves.
So the first one was a 4th and 2 from the San Francisco 28. So that'd have been like a 46-yard field goal attempt. When they were up 24-10.
Mm-hmm.
The second situation, they were down 3 out just outside the 2-minute warning. Or no, just about halfway through the fourth quarter, and it was a 4th and 3 from the San Francisco 30, so it'd be, nearly a 50-yard attempt.
Yeah, 47, 48. But that first one, especially because they could have gone up 27-10. That's
makes it 3 scores.
yeah.
So that, I think in that scenario you should probably go for it. But I think the big thing here for at least for Detroit is they didn't change their strategy from the regular season at all. Like they would go for those in the regular season all season. So when it came up in the playoffs, they went with what they've been doing all season. Analytics, I guess, say to go for it, then they would, or if it's close enough, they would say go for it. I like that they stuck with their game plan, but yeah, retrospect, they at least should have kicked that first one.
And I think playoff football is a different animal than regular season football. Sometimes points are harder to come by.
Yeah.
And you just got to take points where you can get them. And especially if you can go up 17 when you're only about 14, I think that's a big difference.
Right.
So I would have, yeah, I like going for it.
I like going for the first one, but now knowing what the outcome was, they definitely should have kicked the field goal.
I like going for it usually, but I like going for it less when there is a field goal that can be kicked, because you get basically almost half the points you would get. It's almost like hedging. You don't, at least you'll get something out of it rather than 50-57, 50-50 nothing. Maybe 3.5. You have 3.5 as your is in the middle, but you get the compromise offer of 3 instead of and it's one of those things where it sucks maybe to take 3, but you'd still rather have 3 than 0. And the 34-31 final score, of course, Detroit would rather have 3. They also wasted some time at the end of their drive when they called extra timeouts. When they ran that running play instead of just trying to pass the ball into the end zone, because they had to call a timeout, and that led to them not having to onside kick and not being able perhaps to force San Francisco into a 3 and out and get the ball back at the end of the game. So it was, Detroit had a great first half, but their second half, I think they just weren't playoff savvy in the way that I think the 49ers are.
And some of that may just be because Detroit is not accustomed to playing this late in the season. Typically, what they haven't been to an AFC Championship or an NFC Championship game since when was it?
1991.
Yeah.
And the previous time before that, last time they won was 1957 when they actually won in San Francisco, which I believe the 49ers were ahead 24-7 at halftime in the 1957 game, and Detroit actually ended up winning that.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think it was a mirror image of comeback. So, history repeats itself. 66, 67 years later.
Yeah.
So, but you want to talk about our bets a little bit?
Yeah, I was just going to add that the what about knowing this about the Detroit kicker? From 30 to 39, he only missed 1 field goal all season, 29 out of 30. But from 40 to 49 yards, he was 37 to 48, which is 77% rate. So if you knew he's automatic from inside 40 yards versus three quarters chance from the distance they were going for those 4th downs, would that have changed your thought on kicking the field goal? It's only 77% chance rather than near 90%, 90+% chance?
Well, maybe. I don't know, because I think if you're in the playoffs, you expect your field goal kicker to be able to make field goals.
Yeah.
And one of the things is, if you don't have a reliable field goal kicker, you should. Well, there are a lot of guys out there that can be reliable, and maybe you have the run kicker and you stuck with him.
I think a lot of that was just about how their strategy was all season, was that if it's 4th and short, they're going for it. There's no do we do this? Do we this? No, we're going for it. Was that's how they played all season.
And they should have done some different. I think that
got them there, but
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't a good play. It was a bad throw on one of them by Goff that did hit somebody in the arms, but it was like a 3-yard pass that should have been like here, and it shouldn't have been having to be a diving catch by the receiver. But I can't remember what the other one looked like, how they were stopped. But
it was another incomplete pass, but
another incomplete pass. So yeah, it's one of those things, I guess, if you're going to do that, but I don't know. I think at least one of those, I think the field goal would have been. Well, even if he was only 70% accurate, he still would have gotten 1 out of 2 of those field goals, and they would have tied the game. So even if he was only 1 for 2, it would have been better than 0 for 0 points, I guess.
Well, the other one was a deep throw, it says, to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, that was dumb then. So,
but yeah, the 4th-3. Oh well. So yeah, we should probably go through our picks from this game.
Yeah. So this was Detroit was favored, San Francisco was favored by 7. I picked them to cover. So I thought Detroit was not as in the same league as San Francisco. In the second half, it turned out to be true, but in the first half, I was wrong completely. I thought it was going to be a Detroit win outright, but they ended up coming close to clawing their way back, and when they lost the lead in the second half, so they only ended up losing by 3. So 4-point cover for you, Dr. Scaff. You picked Detroit to keep it close, and you also picked San Francisco to win. So you threaded the needle on that one. We both picked San Francisco on the money line, but you predicted it on the spread. And like with the first game,
and really it was a hedge, because I was afraid that Detroit might actually win. So I just wanted to make sure I covered my loss in case San Francisco had a bad game or Detroit had a really good game, and then it ended up just threading the needle perfectly. So that wasn't really what I was aiming to do, but it worked out, ideally.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you ended up getting it absolutely right. Neither of us, though, were correct on the over-under. That was 50.5. There were 65 points scored, so it was comfortably over. But I think neither of us thought that the game would be as high scoring as it was, maybe because we thought Detroit wasn't going to score that many points against San Francisco's defense. It turns out this kind of vaunted San Francisco defense has allowed a lot of points over the last half of the season. So maybe their defense isn't quite as strong as the Chiefs. And this is maybe when the Super Bowl comes around, it's the Chiefs that have the better defense than the 49ers, and rather than the other way around, with the 49ers were seen as having the kind of best defense in the NFL playing against the Chiefs. So it's an interesting kind of turn of events, I think. Yeah, because they've been unable really to get a great pass rush. Bosa's pretty good, but the rest of their guys, even Chase Young hasn't done a whole lot since his arrival. Fred Warner's a great linebacker, but Travarius Ward has been a good corner for them. Former Chief Travarius Ward, but I don't think I don't think their linebackers as a whole or their secondary as a whole are probably up to the level of what the Chiefs are. So it's been it's interesting. But let's talk about the prop bets, and we had some interesting and very close calls on here, but this time they broke my way a lot more than they did in the Ravens Chiefs game, where none of the
on the props.
I almost had a clean sweep of the props here. You got a couple to keep it interesting for us. So Brock Purdy, he had 267 passing yards. His over-under was 272.5, so he was only 5.5 under. You picked the over, Dr. Scaff. I picked the under, so I ended up winning on that one.
5.5 yards.
5.5 yards. Jared Goff, his over-under was 255.5. He had 273, so he ended up being over by about 17.5 yards. We both picked that because I think both of us thought that the Lions were going to be playing catch up, perhaps, and we're going to just have to throw the ball a lot more maybe than they would run the ball. So, but
They kind of did because they needed that last touchdown drive. Actually, was big for the betting though, because if they would have tried to kick the field goal first instead of going for the touchdown,
yeah,
they would have only ended up pushing on the spread.
yeah,
And Goff probably would not have gotten to the over on his passing yardage either. So that Dan Campbell sort of go for it strategy
maybe,
actually kind of paid off on the betting line
yeah. That
for
could
a couple.
be. Yeah, so Goff was over. Uh, then for rushing yards, we had 4 prop bets here. Uh, McCaffrey, his over under was projected at 84.5. Dr. Scaff, you went with the under. I went with the over on that one. I was correct on that one because he ended up with 90 yards, so he was just 5.5 over. So these over unders were really, really nailed by, I think, by the boys in Vegas.
Well placed lines, yeah, really impressive.
Yeah.
Making
Uh,
for really tight finishes and yeah, real nail biters for the betters.
yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs over under was 47.5. He finished with 45 yards, just under. I picked the under. You also picked the under on that one. So we each won that one. However, we didn't do so well with David Montgomery because Montgomery had that one big. He had a few big runs, especially in the first half. He finished with 93 yards rushing, which was exactly double his over under of 46.5. We both picked the under on that one, so we were way off on that one.
Yeah.
And then here it came down to Jared Goff. Is over under of 1.5 yards rushing. Dr. Scaff, you picked the over. I picked the under. I was correct. Goff had exactly 0 yards rushing. He never tried to run at one time.
0 attempts, yeah.
0 attempts. I thought maybe he also might lose yards on kneel downs just in case the Lions were ahead at the end. That didn't even end up having to happen. So he had 0 yards, 1.5 yards under his over under total. So I won that one. Any do you want to talk about our bets overall?
Yeah, and again, razor thin margins between you and I this week, and now even a smaller razor separating us on the postseason betting competition as a whole.
A sharper razor from Gillette Labs. You like how Gillette is now branding itself as Gillette Labs?
Yeah,
You think that does that make it sound like they're more reputable? Like they're real guys in lab coats that are.
It's not like a guy that's like banging a piece of metal against a rock. Now it's like there's probably lasers involved and like making sure these razors are cut like very perfectly.
They are just saying, well, we did 3 blades, so why don't we try 4 blades? Which it seems like what they've been doing.
We're obviously like big customers of
Yeah.
the Gillette company.
Did you get a Gillette razor when you turned 18? Were you sent one in the mail around your 18th birthday?
I don't remember that.
I was. I wonder. I think they had like people's names on a list, and like I got like a Gillette thing.
That's a little creepy. Companies knowing like when children become adults.
Well, I'm sure they have. I'm sure they just like went to like high school high school lists or something like that, high school directories, and said, well, these people are graduating this year, so they're probably 18 or about to turn 18. So we'll send them a whatever it is. They're seniors in high school. We can send them a razor and maybe they'll use it. I got a lot of weird free stuff about when I was in high school. I also got a free bottle of Surge when it did you get a free bottle of Surge?
I don't remember that either.
Had a CD.
It happened. That's not a thing that stuck with me as being an important event in my life.
It had a CD with it that I played sometimes. It had like alternative kind of Surge friendly music because Surge was trying to be like the new Mountain Dew. I really liked Surge.
Like still in your car, like you have the same car from high school, and it's stuck in the CD player.
I drove that. I drove in high school. I drove an '87 Tercel that didn't have a CD player, and it had a tape deck. But in college, I had a CD player in my car. Towards the end of college, I guess, maybe no, or a car I got after college, I got a CD player in it. But I had to use the C. If I wanted to play the CDs before, I had to use the tape deck, that little adapter with the
Yes.
tape deck that could plug
Cord that
into
stuck out the back. Yeah.
your Discman,
Yep.
and you could play CDs that way.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty sweet. But yeah, I got a Surge CD. I wonder if I still have my Surge CD somewhere in my childhood bedroom. But it
No.
was yeah, it was
Better call up
interesting.
Wes and Dina after this and see if they can go find it.
Surge, yeah. Did you like Surge? Did you drink it?
I remember drinking it, but I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember like asking for it ever though. You know.
I
I
must have been
remember,
on like I got it
yeah.
sometimes. I would get it because I like Mountain Dew a lot. So I got Surge. I preferred Surge to Mountain Dew. I liked it a little
Yeah.
bit more. It had a more of a orangish maybe flavor to it.
Maybe a little more citrusy.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
remember thinking it was weird, like when I went to college at Iowa State, like how many more people drank Mountain Dew in Iowa than did in KC area.
Huh.
Like it was there, but it wasn't like that popular, I think, at the time anyway. But like in Iowa, it was like there were people that only drank Mountain Dew,
I
like
think in
exclusively.
rural America, Mountain Dew is more popular. I
It
know.
seems like that is the case, yeah. Because I didn't remember any. I don't really remember people like there was a big clamoring for Mountain Dew amongst the people that I knew, at least anyway, in Kansas City. And then yeah, going
Well,
to that's
yeah,
what it seemed like most people drank was. It was very weird. Just how different it is. It's like one state away, but
yeah.
the
Even the name
soda
Mountain,
tendencies were very different.
even the name Mountain Dew, because it means moonshine, basically.
Yeah,
So it has that kind of rural quality. I think there were like hillbillies that originally were like
yeah.
the Mountain Dew mascots. And in West Virginia, they drink a ton of Mountain Dew. And I think that supposedly for a while, the like children's teeth were really, really bad because a lot of like parents apparently
Soft and porous.
gave children like Mountain Dew as a bedtime drink, or like put Mountain Dew like in a bottle and gave it to like their young children. Uh,
Right.
and so there were a lot of cavities in teeth. In maybe it's also because maybe water wasn't fluoridated.
They should have been drinking bourbon, Mike. That's the
But yeah, Mountain Dew was a big problem. I think I was watching like documentaries on like rural medical clinics in like West Virginia, and like not like kids were like addicted to Mountain Dew. Uh,
well.
and but yeah, so but anyway, I liked Surge a little better. I wish they still had Surge. They brought back Mellow Yellow, sort of, I guess, but they brought back Surge for a little while, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but
Has it
it's
been replaced? Did it like does it have a different name now, or is it like
no, it's basically if there is a Mountain Dew-ish product, it's Mellow Yellow, like at McDonald's or whatever. Um,
I just typed in Surge Soda and in the website says Surge Soda is back.
oh, it is?
I don't know, apparently. Unless this website's old, I don't know. Shop now.
It is. Maybe you can find it at certain places.
Oh, this is out of stock. If mine comes up as like Instacart, Amazon, and Walmart, but it all says out of stock.
Uh, well, they had Crystal Pepsi come back a few years ago. Do you remember that?
Maybe Burger King's have it.
Ooh, Burger King. I
It
go to
shows
Burger
up as a Burger King in North Kansas City, KCK.
I had no idea they had Surge. I wonder if they have
Maybe
Burger
Burger King has it. I don't know.
King. I use the Burger King not app. I order online from Burger King a lot because it's easy to do. And
Yeah,
Burger King's around, and they give you like if you like, there's like you can always get like free fries or something if you do it. Uh,
yeah.
and so I've done that quite a bit lately, but I haven't gotten
You
Surge.
haven't looked through the soda list to see if Surge is present.
No, I just assumed they had Coke, but maybe they have Surge. That would be I would drink that. Uh,
Yeah.
just as nostalgia, at least. It would give me that. I think actually I got Surge. I think Surge came out about the same time as the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, because that was, of course, in the head where Atlanta is, where Coca-Cola is headquartered. So I think that was a big. It was like to appeal to like young, skateboard types. to get them off of Mountain Dew, because Mountain Dew's always been the more extreme of the sodas as well. And but Surge was, yeah, I think that's when it came out, around the Atlanta Olympics. And I got it. Yeah, I got free Surge, and I got a Gillette razor as well. Maybe it was a Mach 3 at that point. I think they had just gone to the 3-bladed razor.
And now they're up to like 12 blades.
Yeah. And they have like other things that that Gillette Labs is developing with Teflon coating or something, or weird lubrication, extra lubrication strips or something. It's a
nice.
It's I don't know, the boys at Gillette Labs are really on the cutting edge of science and technology. So I just like how they say that in the commercials. It's from Gillette Labs. So like, it seems like, I don't know who the advertising person that said, why don't we start calling it Gillette Labs to make it sound extra exciting, or maybe in our anti-science COVID denialism world, does lab have a negative effect? We don't want some pointy-headed scientist telling us what to do. Maybe we want the
well, I mean, labs also has like a connotation about like, some, like drug labs, or they're referred to as labs too. So
yeah,
even if they're, done in someone's basement or someone's RV or something like that.
Or Labrador
associated with that too. But
there's Labrador retrievers as well, referred to as labs. So maybe it's a dog, maybe for dog. The cat owners wouldn't like Gillette Labs in the way that dog owners.
So maybe the word is ambiguous enough that no one can really be offended by it, because they just assume that it means Labrador or.
Yeah, somebody's saying, "Oh, those dogs down at Gillette are really working hard to." It would be a dog in a lab coat. That's what it should be.
They pan over, and that's the dog in a lab coat.
There's like two of them. There's like a yellow lab, and a black lab. Like, but dogs don't really shave very often, I don't think. And if they do, they need that like giant cone around their head if they have surgery or whatever, so they do not try to reinfect the area that was surgery was performed on. But
yes.
Anyway, we've got off a little topic here. Where were we? We were on the
about how razor thin.
That's
the margins were.
That's it.
So at the end of last week, I think you had a nearly $3 lead, Mike. $3.
That's not bad.
And now your lead has evaporated, and now you trail by 27 cents after our 46 playoff bets. We are separated by 27 cents. So 46 bets. It's $4,600 waged.
We're 27 cents apart.
27 cents apart.
We each won money this week.
You're both up about $120.
Yeah, you were a little over. I was a little under 120. That's what separated us.
Yeah. So overall, now you're plus 140 and 23 cents. I'm plus 140 and 50 cents.
Really, you could round yours up to 141, and mine's rounded down to 140. So it's $1 if you round it.
Yes.
If it's three significant figures you want to use.
Right. We could, if we're using gasoline rules with the 9/10 of a cent. Third digit beyond the decimal. No.
Yeah. Third digit beyond. 9/10 of a cent. I always like that. They don't need to use that, but I guess it makes things look slightly cheaper. Is that the only reason that?
Yes, yeah.
You think, oh, it's $1.18. It's not real. It's really $1.19 that you see, or I guess it's let's say $3.18, $3.19 in 2024 terms. What is gas in Missouri? Is it over $3?
It's like $2.69. I think is what I paid today, actually.
Wow, I paid $3.12, $3.13 yesterday. So it's a lot cheaper.
A lot of that is just the luck of having been residing in the Kansas City area, because the gasoline mostly travels north from Texas into KC area, and then from there it like branches out as how they like transport it through the country. So it's just earlier in the supply chain that it gets dropped off in Kansas City and then
Yeah.
travels to the rest of the country. So KC has like a typically cheaper gasoline price than the coasts have.
Yeah, my part of Maryland is actually more expensive usually than the rest of Maryland too, because it's a little more isolated, I guess. So,
It's
and
probably have
Pennsylvania
to take a second trip from whatever city it goes, then it has to be secondarily transported to.
probably comes back from Hagerstown or something.
Yeah.
Maryland, it goes to Cumberland. But yeah, and Pennsylvania is usually little more expensive than Maryland is. And maybe that's probably just taxes and things like that too. I don't know. But um,
But there is part of it is like a supply. Yeah, how long it has to take to transport it, and so like there's this additional cost associated with moving it further. Kansas City is a very lucky place to be, I think, for because it is actually like a stop point for gasoline as it gets sent around the country.
it's a lucky place to be if you're a gasoline consumer, and also a lucky place to be if you're a fan of the local football team. So it seems like KC is the place to be. Um, and speaking of KC, none of the KC players are going to be in Orlando, Florida this week, which is where the second annual Pro Bowl games are being held. 24 Pro Bowl games. They've switched a couple years ago from the traditional all-star game format to more of a skills competition with a little bit of flag football thrown in. But there'll be lots of events. We kind of know who's going to be in the Pro Bowl, at least the roster. We don't really know who's going to be in the events, but that hasn't prevented us from wanting to bet on these events. We had such a huge upswell of support and interest in in last year's Pro Bowl betting guide that we're going to do another one this year. So should we go ahead and start our Pro Bowl betting extravaganza?
Yes.
We'll two. Yeah, we'll leave the Super Bowl preview for next week because I think everybody's more interested right now in the Pro Bowl preview. But yeah, let's talk a little about the Pro Bowl. And Dr. Schiff, why don't you run us through some of these competitions, and then we will each make our bets. And the way we do the Pro Bowl bets is that we take different sides because there's no actual betting lines in the Pro Bowl. We've looked on FanDuel, looked on other sites. For some reason, nobody's taking advantage of these Pro Bowl bets. I don't know why. It seems like it's a missed opportunity because people want to gamble, and there's all these little things that they could gamble on.
Right.
Why not take advantage of that? I guess Las Vegas doesn't feel like it has maybe an edge, so like it's just flipping a coin. But you still have they still have the juice, even if they don't know which way or the other. It's still minus 110 to bet on one thing rather than the actual 50-50 shots. So they can still probably make their money back. But maybe we should petition Caesars or Bally's.
Well, it does make it more difficult because so many players, you don't know who is actually on the roster until just a few days before. Like I think they just finalized the rosters, I believe, Tuesday, which is today we're recording this episode of the Morning Track Power Hour. And the games start on Thursday, so there's not really enough time probably to form like real good opinions about what is going to happen at any of these events. And most of the events are ridiculous anyway.
Hey, I want to know who's going to win the tug of war, the AFC or NFC.
And a lot of it isn't televised or it's pre-recorded, so they don't maybe even know when the events are taking place, like publicly.
Yeah.
Some of the events I don't think are available to the public to even watch, I think, in person. So they may want to keep those things from being known before they decide to air them at a later time. So it makes it a little weirder, I guess, for betting that perspective. Because you don't know how legitimate any of this stuff is. But degenerate gamblers don't care how legitimate anything is. Does that sound right?
That's right. We don't want legitimacy. We're even though this is fake money, so it doesn't really matter for us. But
this is more about pride than anything else. So we're going to be making our picks based on what we know at this point, at least anyway. It looks like Thursday there are 7 events scheduled, which include the precision passing, presented by Lowe's. There's the best catch competition for receivers, I believe is what it was last year, just receivers, I think. We thought maybe there might be tight ends involved in it last year, but I think it was just receivers.
Wide receivers. And now it's only one player from each conference will be shown in pre-recorded segments doing special catches around various Orlando landmarks, and a fan vote will determine who had the best catches. So there's only going to be 2 people involved, apparently.
Yeah. And we don't know who they are. So we know that one is from the AFC, one is from the NFC. That is all we know. And there's also the closest to the pin competition, the golf accuracy. 6 players from each conference. A driving contest. And then there will be the high stakes competition, which seems slightly convoluted in how they've described it. Players will be, I guess, holding 1 or more footballs and then trying to catch balls that are like lobbed to them from a jugs machine.
Yeah, it seems a little Double Dare-ish to me.
Yeah, so I don't know if they have to continue to carry that. I don't know if they have to have like a, hands full of 12, 13 balls, and whoever has the most at the end wins, or
I don't know. We'll bet on it. We don't even know what's going on, but we're gonna bet each other on it.
Yeah.
Whether it's the AFC or NFC is going to win.
Then there's the dodgeball competition presented by Bud Light, featuring was it the AFC offense versus the NFC defense, NFC offense versus the AFC defense.
Yes.
And then the winner of those 2 games will face each other. So there'll be 3 games here that I guess will be not necessarily picking. We're just gonna pick the rosters that we think will win the overall games. I think
we'll each pick 2, and we'll get 1 point for each semifinal victory, and then you want to do 2, and we'll get 2 points for the finals.
That's right. Yes, that makes sense.
That sounds like a good way.
Double up on the winner, overall winner.
Yeah.
Then there's the kick-tack-toe competition. It looks like the place kickers. We're trying to hit targets on the field.
It'll be Justin Tucker versus Brandon Aubrey in that one. Tucker for the AFC Ravens, Aubrey for the NFC Cowboys.
And then for the first time, there's a new skill competition, snapshots, where the long snappers and centers will be showcasing their skills by snapping balls at targets of various sizes and point values.
Ooh,
this the event that it was going to draw you into the Pro Bowl Thursday skills competition events.
Sure, why not? I'm not going to be watching these probably, but I will be interested in the results. And
we don't care about
stuff. I think hiking the ball has been in precision, like in my version of like how we could create a better NFL offense would involve a lot more directional snapping of the ball, having the 2 quarterback system, where one quarterback, you have two sort of like Lamar Jackson-ish type quarterbacks, both of which can run and both of which can pass at a reasonable level. I think that's the best offense that you could have. I'm surprised the NFL hasn't developed the 2 quarterback system yet, but
we've seen the triple threat offense, but we've never seen a double QB threat offense.
Yeah,
no, we need that.
I would just try to find 2 running quarterbacks, and 2 I think that could work, guys. Get Lamar Jackson and I don't know who, Huntley is a pretty good runner, or young Teddy Bridgewater, somebody like that. There's running QBs that would do well in college, and I think they could maybe do well in the pros if they had this kind of
scheme for them.
Jalen Hurts, if imagine Hurts and Lamar Jackson in the same backfield, that kind of, they could have been drafted together because neither one was drafted super high. How would you defend that system?
Right.
Yeah. Easy peasy. Okay, so do you want to make our bets on the Thursday games and then talk about Sunday?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay.
So I think we decided that we're going to do this like a draft as to how we're going to make the picks.
Okay. At least, so we're going to do the draft. We'll alternate most of them. So you'll pick first on the first one, and then I'll pick first on the second one, and so on. But for the quarterback skills competition, the precision passing, we know now which 6 quarterbacks are going to be in the Pro Bowl. Quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, who were selected to the Pro Bowl, are not going to be in it. Brock Purdy as well. Other quarterbacks who have been selected are not in it. But we know which quarterbacks are going to be in it. So the way we're going to do it is Dr. Scaff, he won the coin flip before we started the show. He's going to pick the first quarterback, but we're going to do a kind of fantasy football style snake draft for the quarterbacks. So Dr. Scaff will pick first. I will pick second and third. He will pick fourth and fifth, and then I will pick sixth. So I get the last quarterback, but also the second and third picks. So yeah. I'm looking forward to that. And the way we'll do it is, I think we'll go. Do you want to go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or do you want to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 as our point scoring?
Yes, we'll go more points. I think you always try to get as many points as you can. So I think the 6
for the winner, 5 for the
1 for the worst, I guess. Right?
1 for the worst.
You still get a consolation point.
Consolation point. Okay. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So our 6 quarterbacks are going to be CJ Stroud, Gardner Minshew, both alternates, and Tua Tagovailoa, who's actually elected the starter originally. Yes. For the AFC. And then it's 3 alternates for the NFC. Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Brock Purdy not in it, but Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, and Geno Smith will be in the precision passing. So who do we like as your first overall pick in the precision passing?
Well, after having looked at the list, I was less confident about having my first pick. Mike, would you like to trade first picks with me for something else? No. I did a little research on this briefly before, and I will say last season there's only one quarterback who was in this field that has done this precision passing event from last year that's also in this year's competition. So I think that with my first pick, I'll go with the veteran Geno Smith.
Yeah, I thought I had a feeling you might go with Geno Smith. I remember he was in the Pro Bowl last year.
And I believe he finished 3rd in the precision passing event last year.
So I am going to pick, for my second pick, I'm going to pick the rookie, CJ Stroud. And then I will pick Gardner Minshew, the other AFC alternate, as the third pick. So my first 2 picks are Stroud and Minshew. Now you have your choice for your 4th and 5th overall picks.
So I will take. I think I'm going to leave you with Jalen Hurts. So I will take Baker Mayfield and Tua.
Yeah, that's what I would have done too. I think Hurts is not the most precise passer, but maybe he's good at these sorts of passing things. Hard to say. So Stroud, Minshew, Hurts. Okay, that is our precision passing. I'm Stroud, Minshew, Hurts. You are Smith, Tua, Baker.
Yes.
Okay, let's go on to the best catch. We don't know who the best catch is going to be. Do you think so? It's my turn to choose first. It's either AFC or NFC. Tyreek Hill is on the AFC, so I think he might win that one. So I'm going to pick AFC as Jamar Chase is also on the AFC. I think those are maybe 2 of the bigger stars. So I'm going to pick AFC to win the best catch.
Which means I will get the NFC. And then I will pick first in the next category. Is that right?
Yes.
Which is closest to the pin. Right?
Yeah, I think we're going to do 2 on this one. We're going to do both AFC and NFC, but also maybe offensive player or defensive player.
Right. That's right. Okay, so I will take AFC, NFC. You just don't know. You don't know who.
Would you rather pick offensive or defensive? Would you
Oh,
rather pick?
I think I'm going to go with the offense player. I think I'll tell. I think the winner will be from. I think a lot of offensive linemen probably play golf normally. These are usually like very large guys that have long drives, but it's also close to the pin, so there's more of an accuracy to it too. I think maybe the offensive linemen are more likely to play more golf than defensive players are, just as a guess, because I don't know. So I'm going to take offense with my pick.
Okay, I'll take.
Next two picks then.
Well, I could. Could I take AFC and NFC and leave you with offensive teams? But that would we need to end up tying that way.
Yep.
I don't think that would be. It's funny, but it's not the spirit of the
It
game.
is a strategy.
But I think by that
It's a strategy that leaves us to split the points is really what it is.
Yeah, we know that going in. So I would by if you pick defense, if you pick offense, I get defense. I don't know about the other one. I'll stick with the AFC. And therefore you get the NFC. That way we could range from 0 to 2 points for each of us. I think that's more fair.
Yeah. It could split though too, but
all right.
Yeah. So all the outcomes are on the table that way. The other way it locks it to 1-1 for us, right? If you did the two conferences.
So do you want me to go first for high stakes?
Or
are you going first? Because you went first for closest to the pin.
It makes it weird because it's an even number too, doesn't it? So if I go first this time, then you'd pick second and then first in the next one, right? Or what are we doing with high stakes? No, we know there's only one pick.
We're just doing AFC or NFC.
So I guess this one should be mine, I think.
Okay.
And you'll get the next pick on the.
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah, I'll take the first pick on the.
That would be the snake draft.
We'll do snake. Yeah.
I'll get 2 in a row still, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But I can pick first 2 games in a row. It doesn't matter. High stakes. You've been taking AFC. I don't know who's going to be returning kicks in these, I guess, but I don't know if that matters. I'll keep it the same. Maybe I'll take the NFC again this time.
Okay, I'll take AFC. I don't know if it's going to be the punt returner, return specialist Marvin Mims of Denver, or the return specialist Rashid Shaheed of New Orleans. If those two are going to be doing it, or if it's random
it could be
people.
somebody else. It could be a receiver, I guess. I don't know.
It could be multiple people on each team. All right, now we're at the dodgeball, which is played by 4 teams of 5 players. AFC offense and AFC defense, NFC offense, NFC defense. I pick first. I'm gonna pick since I've done AFC so much, I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna go NFC defense is my first pick for dodgeball.
Then I guess I pick the next 2.
Yeah.
All right, then I'll take the AFC defense. And maybe I'll split it. I'll mix it up. I'll go NFC offense.
Okay, so
that's probably not a good idea.
I'll go NFC defense, AFC offense will be mine too. Okay.
And then you'll pick first, then kick-tac-toe then.
Kick-tac-toe, I pick first. I'm going to take the AFC for kick-tac-toe because I think I'm going to pick Justin Tucker.
Mike, it's AFC. That leaves me with the NFC.
And now, but you get the first pick for the one we all wanted. Snapshot.
And these are the 2. So this is Creed Humphrey's backup for the Pro Bowl because he's not participating. So I think I will take the NFC.
It will Jason Kelsey.
You're going down. I don't. He's not going to play either. I don't think.
It doesn't say he's not, at least on Wikipedia. So he might play.
I think let's see. Or wait, maybe let's see. Kelsey, no, he's there. Yeah, he's not listed as out. Yeah. So I guess I'll take the NFC. Right. That's what I said. Right. Yeah. NFC.
I'll take the AFC in the snapshot then. Yes. Okay. Now, do we want to talk about our Sunday competition? So those are the Thursday games. we'll each be watching closely, and there are also games on Sunday that will.
There are 4 more events before the 2 big events, I guess.
Yes.
So first, there's the Madden 24 head-to-head. It looks like the NFC won last year.
So it's okay. Do you want to announce all the games first, or do you want to?
Oh yes, yeah, sure. Okay, so competition in Madden 24. You and it apparently is using the Pro Bowl games rosters even, so they'll be playing. Some of them may be playing as themselves on the field then too. So, and there's also the what is that? Gridiron Gauntlet presented by Snickers, which is a relay race between 6 players of each conference. Obstacle courses are involved. Walls will be broken. Doors will be crawled under. Yes, and a sled push, which is what we all want to see, I think.
Yeah. You get, I think, guys with blocking sleds. That's part of classic football practice.
Right. And then the classic tug of war competition between the 2 conferences. It's a 5-on-5 teamwork event, yes.
Yes.
And then finally there's the Move the Chains competition, which appears to be a offensive defensive lineman strength and speed competition that takes strategy and teamwork, Mike. Players will be moving 3,000 pounds of weight off a massive wall and then be the first team to pull a 2,000-pound wall across the finish line.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Yes.
And then, of course, we finish with the flag football competitions. And there were 3 separate flag football games that will happen between AFC and the NFC. So do we want to pick the winners of each of those 3?
Well, then it's is this the one that's coached by the Manning brothers?
I believe so. Peyton with the AFC and Eli with the NFC.
And then are they this is instead of the traditional Pro Bowl game? Is that how it?
Yes, yeah. There's 3
Pro Bowl game.
3 mini mini flag football games. There's no actual tackle football game anymore.
That's probably better. Was there a full Pro Bowl game last year?
No.
Was there not? Was it only skills competition?
Only skills competition and flag football.
Okay, I'd forgotten that because I don't know that I watched it.
I watched some of the flag football.
Okay.
So I guess it's my turn to pick first.
Yes, it is.
For Madden, you said NFC won last year.
That's right.
Since they won last year, maybe we'll go NFC. I don't know who was playing for the NFC, but maybe NFC will win again. Maybe they're better at Madden football. So I'm going to pick NFC to win Madden.
Which leaves me with the AFC, and then the first pick in the Gridiron Gauntlet. I don't know how to pick this one other than just randomly pick. And it looks like I have been more or less. Looks like I'm NFC heavy, so I'll take the AFC this time again.
I'll do NFC for that one. Tug of war. I'm going to go. Since I've done that, seems like on Sunday I'm heavier NFC, so I'm going to stick with my heavy NFC on Sunday. I'm going to go NFC again for tug of war.
Which leaves me with the AFC, and then move the chains. Maybe I'll switch it back and take the NFC this time.
And I'll take the AFC for move the chains. I think the NFC might be tired after the tug of war victory. Ooh. So maybe it's something similar. All right. And for flag football, how do we want to score? Because this is the premier event. Do we want to do 2 points per match on flag football, leaving us 6 total?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Or was it a championship game, or how does it work?
I think if there ends up being, I think there's going to be 3 played no matter what, whether it's best of 3 or not. So we can do first I think they'll probably have one game maybe with each quarterback.
Oh, maybe that's what it's going to be.
Probably.
That could make sense.
That's my guess. Let's pretend it's that way. So these
So
because
we'll
there's
say game one winner is what we're trying to project,
yeah.
and you have the first pick.
Okay, so game one, if it's Tua as the starter in game one, or maybe I don't know if they do it as an anchor. Like
He is officially listed as the starter.
yeah. Against I guess it's gonna be Jalen Hurts, maybe then as the starter.
It does say on the NFL website, it does say Jalen Hurts. It replaces Purdy specifically. So, and Purdy was the starter.
I think Tua might be a really good flag football player over Jalen Hurts he's not, you can't tackle him. He's got precision passes. I'm gonna say AFC wins game one.
Especially if Tyreek Hill's who he's throwing to.
Yeah, yeah. So you have the NFC then for game one.
Yeah.
Game two,
I guess is my pick then. I'll
yes.
say I will say you're probably right. The AFC is probably going to win the first game. So I will say the NFC will win the second game though. So to make it 1-1. So Team Eli this time, which is hard for me to even say, but
okay. So I guess I'm going with the AFC then for that one. And you know what? I'm gonna just continue with the easier this way. I'll pick AFC for all three.
There you go.
And you'll have NFC for all three.
And those are our
and those are 2 points
each. Picks.
Yes.
I have no idea what happened last year. I don't remember which one of us won our competition.
I think I can't remember either. I think either I don't remember. It was such as it was I think it ended up being close. I think you won. If I remember correctly, but I'm not sure.
Before our next episode, I'll have to do some research and we'll see if I can figure out who won.
We'll have to watch last year's episode.
Watch last year's episode.
See how much we've grown since that time period. Speaking of time period, is our time period up for tonight? I think we've
rapidly approaching.
Yeah, we've had some good tangents, I believe, talking about
the labs.
and the return of Surge that may or may not be at your local Burger King.
It's not. I looked up Burger King online and it was not available at the North Kansas City one. But anyway, so
good. I'm glad we told our viewers that because they might go to Burger King and say Scaff and Worman, they lied to us saying Surge was available and it was not available. So this is Coca-Cola Company's fault. Maybe they're bringing it back come springtime. I don't know. So you have that to look forward to, perhaps. Well, we also have next week's episode to look forward to, and you have this week's Pro Bowl games to look forward to. Probably most importantly, we have the Super Bowl coming up in 2 weeks, but we'll talk about that next week. So I think we're gonna sign off here. As always, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the Rewarding Trek Power Hour. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast, which is available on several different platforms. And until next week, we wish you a good day.